Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with the Battle Report. So I have a YouTube subscriber from all the way across the country that let me know he was going to be in town, so I picked him up and took him to the game store and had a game. He had told me in advance he was bringing his Beastmen, but I forgot. I wasn't really paying attention, remembering those details, and so a buddy of mine asked, I told him I would play test one of his Beastmen builds, and I didn't receive it in time, and so at the last minute, because I go to the game store directly from work, so at work I just went on the internet real quick and grabbed a list and made some minor tweaks and played it. So I've always wanted to play a Minobus list, so I brought that, and my opponent brought his Beastman army, which with a largish unit of Minotaurs with a Doombull. So we have a Doombull on Doombull, Beastman on Beastman battle. At the end of the report, I am going to have a very short studio update, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, stick around or fast forward to the end. So, starting on the far left, he's got a couple chariots, and he's got a unit of Bestigor with Slug Tongue. Slug Tongue against the list I'm running here is not a big deal, but basically he's a level 2 caster. He has lore of Shadow in this game. But basically, before the game starts, I roll a die for all of my units, and on a 4-up, they take some high strength hits with no armor save. So again, against my current list, it's not a big deal. Against my Empire list with a lot of small units, it can be. It can kill war machines. He's got another chariot, a Razorgore in the woods. So he's got some great weaponed Minotaurs, and he's got a Doombull, and he's similar to my build, and he has my traditional build, which is a 1-up rerollable armor save, and they give you extra attacks each. But then he has a great weapon. I usually give mine the Always Strikes First sword because I like him rerolling to hit. But great weapon puts him at strength 8, so that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm wondering if he thought I was going to be bringing my Bretonnians, because great weaponed Minotaurs and a Doombull built like that would just rock Bretonnians' world. Anyway, then in the building, there's this unit, so it's like 40-ish, I think 40 Gores. And they've got basically a naked Battle Standard Bearer and a level 2 Death with a scroll. So I have so few units that my opponent, I pretty much had to put mine down and my opponent could react to me. But I've got a large unit of Gore on the right, a large Minotaur herd really right in the middle of my line. So this is 12 Minotaurs with 3 characters. They don't have an extra hand weapon. They don't have great weapons. I just kept them cheap, relatively speaking. So I've got my Doombull. The build that the person on the Herdstone had that I'm using is the 1-up armor save gives it extra attacks, but it's not rerollable. So it's not nearly as good against low strength attacks as the rerollable one is. But it does have a 4 forward save, so it's better against high strength attacks. So in this game, it actually is better. And it has the ASF sword, which I like, so he gets to reroll to hit against most things. There's a Gorbull here that he's not the Battle Standard Bearer. His job is just to keep that unit from breaking. So he's got the Crown of Command, and other than that, he's actually pretty fragile. So my thinking is I've got to protect him, which is why the Doombull's next to him, so I can get in a challenge and might be able to take some hits away from this guy. And I'm also thinking if I need to reform, even if I went 5 wide, I could push this guy back to the 2nd rank and protect him, and that's what I have to do, then that's what I have to do. I'm happy doing it. Then I've got my Battle Standard Bearer. He's got a 4-up, so he's relatively survivable. Then I've got a Chariot. I've got another large unit of Gore. This is my level 4 Shadow. And then I've got Harpies, and that's all I have. So this is very much an in-your-face. I'm going to keep on picking on Malorian here. This is a Malorian list. I've got 3 big units. I'm going to push them forward, and we're going to fight, and I'm going to win or not win. Anyway, kind of fun. So top of turn 1, I go forward pretty much as fast as possible. There's nothing he has. I'm not afraid of anything he has on the table with my Minotaurs. Bring it. Bring your Bestigor. Bring your Minotaurs. I don't care, because they're all great weaponed, and I get to go first, and I'm going to have so many high strength attacks. Just crazy. I'm not really worried about his Minotaurs getting to my Gore. He can make it. It's a longish charge. I think he needs a 9. So let's see. He's 14 inches away, so he needs an 8. So he needs an 8 to get there. If he makes it, he's going to do just a ton of wounds, but I've got a lot of bodies to spare. He's still relatively fragile, and I still have a magic phase after the first round of combat, so if I'm steadfast and stick around, I can get Occams off on my guys, and that will go a long way towards erasing his Minotaurs. So I'm not really worried about that. On the left, I'm not really worried about my Gore Horde against his unit of Bestigor. Just I know that they're a more elite unit, but I've just got a lot more bodies. So, and those wound markers, by the way, between my chariot and my minotaurs, that's from Slug Tongue. So, Beastman turn 1. Yeah, his unit in the building comes out. His minotaurs charge my Gore, and his Bestigor charge my Gore. The minotaurs make it, the Bestigor don't. And yeah, that's just going to be ugly. He's going to do so many wounds. I get to go first, but the problem is, I'll hit a bunch assuming I pass Primal Fury, but I'm wounded on 5s, and that's going to be the big thing. He's going to come in, he's going to do impact hits, he's going to have all these really high strength attacks, and then he has Stomp. He's certainly going to win. I will almost certainly, be steadfast, and after that we'll see, in my mind, then we'll just see what happens at that point. Yeah, here on the left, he failed with his Bestigor, which I just honestly didn't carry the way. I thought I would do just fine even if he had made it. Look at the dead pile. Yeah, those Minotaurs rocked. They just... Yeah, well, they erased half a unit. So there's that. Then we go to turn 2, and my opponent makes a critical mistake. He had his Razor Gore up in front of my Minobus to redirect him. I charge, and he flees. And we talked about it later, about like what he was thinking, and I'm not sure he remembers what he was thinking. Sometimes those things happen where I don't know. I'm wondering if he thought that my Minotaurs might try to redirect towards the Bestigors or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so he flees with the Razor Gore, so I just redirect and charge into the flank of his Minotaurs. Now, because of the angle, I couldn't maximize really. I only really have, when I hit, I have 3 files hitting, but my impact hits will probably kill enough that only 2 files are going to be able to attack. And then some other weird things happen there. So anyway, huge mistake letting my Minotaurs get in against his Minotaurs, because I have more characters, I have more Minotaurs, I get to go first. It's just not good for him. On the left, my Harpies are redirecting the Bestigor. Again, I'm not really afraid of the Bestigor, but at the same time, I'd rather him just have to monkey around and charge my Harpies and then possibly fail a restrain roll, and then I'd give a flank charge. So we charge it here. There's a couple, more than a couple, a lot of mitigating factors here. Number 1, during the magic phase, I got off Occams on my Gore. When we go to the battle, my Gore fail their Primal Fury, so that's huge. Rerolling to hit is absolutely huge with them, but they are high strength, and I get to go first, so that's big. Secondly, his Doom Bolt is in the middle of his unit. So I charge in, it's my turn, I say, I am not issuing a challenge. Are you issuing a challenge? And he says, yes, I'm going to issue with my Doom Bolt. Well, the way that it works at tournaments around here, and this is rules as written, is the only time you move in a challenge is if you're accepting the challenge. That if you issue the challenge, you never move. So his Doom Bolt doesn't move. I have to move to him. I can't move to him, so what you do is you basically just take them out of the unit. Or you don't have to take them out. You just say, let's just pretend they're out, they're touching each other. I don't know why they wrote the rules that way, but that's what it is. If you issue the challenge, you don't move to the person who accepts. Well, that's actually huge here, because on his turn, if he had reformed and put his Doom Bolt on the edge, and when I charged in, then we got in a challenge, that would have kept all of my guys all my Minotaurs from fighting in this combat. As it is, because his Doom Bolt, because we're kind of like just taken out of it, then I get my 2 files can attack. So I'm just saying that's not me being cheesy. That's the way that it's played. That's the way everybody here plays it, and that is rules as written. So that is a factor, because it gives me a bunch of attacks on my Minotaurs. So we go to the challenge, and I am worried about it. The Doom Bolt, I think down here it says 6 at base. I think Doom Bolts actually have 5 attacks base, 6 with their original frenzy. So his guy has 5 plus 2 frenzy, so he has 7. And every hit, every wound I do to him, he's going to have a 4-up armor save, and every armor save he makes, he gets more attacks. So I think his guy has a chance of killing me. I'm going in there with 5 plus my 1 frenzy, 6 attacks, rerolling to hit. I'm not going to kill him. He'll have a 4-up armor save rerollable. So I'm not going to kill him. I think he actually has a chance of killing my Doom Bolt. So we go in, I do a bunch of wounds to him. He saves 1 or 2, but he ends up taking 3 wounds, even with a 4-up rerollable. So I think he rolled fairly poorly there. He attacks me. I make a bunch of 4-up wards, and I only take 2 wounds on my Doom Bolt. So we're both still alive. Technically, I won the combat, but I shouldn't have. If I had brought my normal build in the Doom Bull with a 1-up rerollable, his strength 8 would have chopped through my armor and he just would have killed me outright. So, um, yeah, that's a real tough decision to make with the Doom Bull because it's really fun having that rerollable armor save, but 4-up Horde certainly comes in handy. So the Gores go. They do okay. They don't have rerolling to hit, and so they just don't hit very many, but they're wounding on 2s, and so we remove a bunch of Minotaurs, and then I have a Gore Bull, and then 4 Minotaurs behind him because I'm in Horde formation. They get to go, and we just erase the unit between all that. Before he can even attack, the only thing he has left is his champion, and his champion's only on a single wound. And even that was bad luck for my opponent, because if I had done one more wound, then his Doom Bull would have been alone, and if he gets away, he could easily rally. But because that champion's with him, if he breaks, he's going to be on Snake Eyes to rally. So, huge mistake with the Razor Gore, and then everything at that point went against him, except little things like me failing Primal Fury, but it wasn't necessary. Actually, me failing Primal Fury actually helped, because if I hadn't failed it, I would have killed his champion too, and then his Doom Bull could have rallied. So, anyway, there's what it looks like on the left. And after combat, yeah, easily I break him. I don't pursue with the Gore because I like the idea of just reforming with him and just keeping him there. I don't know. I probably should have just chased with him. My Minotaurs pursued 3, and it's really not a big deal. Even if they had overrun 6, the Gore unit was still going to be in my front if he wanted to charge me. And quite frankly, he can charge my flank, and I just don't care. I would be stubborn if I lost combat, and I don't think I'd lose combat. I would have so many attacks going against him. So, bottom of turn 2. So he does some... One thing I think is very clever, and one thing I think is a mistake. On the left, he doesn't go charging around with his Bestigor. He just hangs out, and his plan is to cast Purple Sun, cast it through my Minotaurs, and I think it'll hit. It'll go through 9 and possibly 11 Minotaurs. And it doesn't have to roll all that great to be able to in order to do that. And so I think that's a good plan. Whoever you hit, it should kill half of them and would make that unit much more manageable. His Gore on the right, I would have done that very differently because basically he just reformed him to take my charge. I probably would have taken the 2 characters out and just moved them behind the house, and I probably would have reformed the Gore and put him in the house. Because my Minotaurs can't see the house, it would have taken me an extra turn. He could have popped him out on the other side. He could have done a lot of dancing instead of just sitting out there letting my Minotaurs, chop through stuff. Of course, his Doom Bull does not rally. He's on Snake Eyes. And so over here, again, he's waiting to pop Purple Sun. He casts it. He does not get Irresistible Force. I cannot dispel it. It goes through. And he rolls the artillery die for distance and rolls a misfire. So it goes directly on top of Slugtongue's head and then scatters d6. And we roll the scatter die, and it's a misfire, and it's a direct hit. And Slugtongue fails his initiative test, as do 3 Bestigor. I mean, he literally failed every roll possible, everything all the way around. So his plan, which I thought was pretty good, totally backfired. He loses Slugtongue, and yeah. So, top of turn 3. This is Once Bitten getting very cavalier and learning some lessons. So, on the far right, I charged both units in. I didn't want to charge the Gore in, but they had to, so the Minotaurs could make it. It looks like that. I'm just going to erase that unit. On the left, I go ahead and charge my Gore Horde in to his Bestigor. Now, again, I'm thinking he's the more elite unit, but I have so many more bodies. I have more attacks because I'm in Horde formation, I'm wider, and I have a magic phase. Well, and both of us to get Primal Fury are on Leadership 7 with no reroll. Well, so what happens is we go to the magic phase and I roll Snake Eyes for the Winds of Magic. I go to cast one spell. I forget what it is and it doesn't matter because it just didn't go through. And so my Gore going in unsupported there. And this one I didn't need magic anyway, like I said. I mean, he can't do enough to bother me, and I'm just going to do absolute ton of wounds there. There's this. And, oh yeah, in order for my Gore to make it, my Harpies had to get out of the way, so I charged a Chariot. I don't know if I'll do any wounds, because I'm Strength 3, he's Toughness 4, and he's got a 4-up armor, but I've got a charge, and I do have 8 attacks, because I can have 4 of these guys in the fight, because they scrunch together. Yeah, so I'm pretty confident about that. After here, my Gore unit pursues his unit just to get off the table. My Minotaurs have to pursue D6, they bump into the house. But again, I'm still at 14 models. I started with 15. So, um, yeah. Look at the left. Okay, so he passes his Primal Fury. I fail mine. That doesn't help. And then the difference between Bestigor and Gore really shines because when it comes time to wound, he's wounding on 2s and I'm not going to get an armor save. I'm wounding him on 5s and then he gets a 5-up armor save. So I do just literally a handful of wounds, maybe 2, 3, and he chops up a ton of my guys. I'm not even steadfast, and he breaks and runs them down with my level 4. So that's what I'm thinking. Okay, I mean I get it. This is kind of a fun game. Let's just throw these guys together. But that was not well played. I had Harpies. I could have redirected to Vestigor again. I could have moved my Brave Shaman out of the unit. A lot of things I could have and should have done. Oh, and Harpies charged the Chariot. I don't do any wounds to him. He does 2 wounds to me. I lose and break, and he runs me down. So, whatever. It's not important for this game, but it's wasn't well played on my part. So on his turn, yeah, he had charged my chariot and I fled. On my turn, my chariot continues to flee. My minotaurs reform. I'm worried that he's just, I'm thinking he's just going to run and hide. I actually told him, I'm like, just go run and hide. I mean, I'm all the way at this corner of the table. And he was like, yeah, but you're winning. So I'd rather try to pull out a victory. I'm like, there you go. Right on. I play in too many tournaments. just take a minor loss if I can. Well, it looks like that. Bottom of 4. He's bringing his guys around. Top of 5, I reform and move up a little bit. Just I didn't like my 3 wide. I did reform 3 wide because that actually bought me some distance from the house as well. But yeah, looks like that. Bottom of 5. I mean, there's no magic. There's no shooting. He's going to redirect with his Razorgore, and that very likely will result, if I charge the Razorgore, that will result in him getting a flank charge with his Bestigor. If I was worried about it, I would just restrain with my Frenzy, but I'm not worried about it in the slightest. So, top of 6, I charge the Razorgore, and my Chariot charges his Chariot. Now, I go into it with 2 wounds because of Slug Tongue, but really I'm not worried about it. I get impact hits and all that, and certainly not worried about this. I do like that picture, though. And, yeah, we kill each other. That's fantastic. So I do impact hits and do some wounds to him, but I don't kill him through that. So our Tuskors and our Gore are both able to fight. But even then I have the advantage. I mean, my Gore is strength 4, his is only strength 3, blah, blah, blah. In the end, after our initiative 3 attacks, I do the 4th wound to him and kill him, and he does 2 wounds to me and kills me. So, yeah, a little kamikaze chariot fight there. And, of course, the Razorgore dies horribly. I've got 4 frenzy markers. So if he charges my flank, the front row left is my champion, and I'm going to take my Doom Bull and my Battle Standard Bearer and put him make way into combat. So he has to attack only my champion or my characters. One of those characters is going to issue a challenge, so it's going to take some of his guys out of the fight. I'm learning this trick from playing ogres all the time. So it's hard to kill my characters. They're pretty well defended. Even if by some chance he does win, which I don't think he will, I'll be stubborn 8 rerollable because I'm keeping the Crown of Command guy out of combat. I don't think he can kill my Battle Standard Bearer. So I didn't take a picture of it. He charges in the flank. I do exactly what I said. Look at his unit. I mean, I eat him. I just absolutely crush him. My Doom Bulls at those frenzy markers. There's 5 now. One of those after combat. So I had 4. So he's at 9 attacks, re-rolling to hit, wounding on 2s. Then my Gore Bull, then my champ, just tore him up. Then stomps. I break him, but of course I only pursue d6, and he gets away easily, and the game ends like that. So it was a fun game because it was just, especially on my part, it felt like a really quirky list. I can tell you, though, that I wouldn't bring a list like this very often. This is, the kind of thing you play around with just to see what happens. But in competitive terms, it's very vulnerable. Anybody with chaff or a spell that can hurt my one main unit, my Death Star, is going to win the game. But even then, it just, I don't know. I don't love lists where it's like there's nothing really to move around. I've got this one unit that's virtually unkillable. Do what you can. So I probably would play it a lot. Wouldn't take it to tournament or anything, but it was fun just to see what could happen if you put that many Minotaurs and 3 characters together. And if people let me get into combat, bad things happen. And he let me get into 2 combats that he probably shouldn't have. So anyway, there was that. So as far as the channel updates, got a lot of new things in the works. Little things. I'm trying to do a better job of just being more active on the channel and just I don't know, just do a better job overall with the channel. So when I have things coming up, I'm going to be announcing them on Facebook and Twitter, and possibly on Instagram if I ever get around to it. I haven't even started making Twitter tweets yet, but basically I've received feedback that when I do my live hangouts and stuff like that, I'm not advertising ahead of time. Nobody knows when they're going to be, so they can't plan for it and be there. So I'll probably just try to start making better use of the Google Plus page that Malorian set up, as well as announcing things on Facebook and Twitter, just so that people who want to follow the channel can keep up to date there. There's a lot of things I do and that I can post on that probably will never make it to a video as well. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, feel free to follow me there. And my wife has been joining me in the hobby just a little bit. She doesn't paint yet. I'm trying to get her to help me paint, but she won't do it. And she doesn't have any interest in playing. But she did have an interest in creating an intro for my videos, and I'm very excited. I love it. As far as I'm concerned, it's done, but she says it's not quite perfect yet, and she won't let me use it. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. I actually took pictures of her taking pictures of stuff for the video, so I might be posting those somewhere pretty soon. So anyway, that's it for the channel. You should be seeing some changes in it over the next month or two, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.